Okay, we are live. Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Just really feeling this hangout right now because we're doing something that we did a while ago, and we're not going to talk about beer, although I am drinking a beer. But we're going to talk about. Well, Valdo already asked because he never heard of this brewery. Um,
Um, well,
Yeah, I can. Yeah, we're not going to talk about beer. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about the Detective Comics expanded universe. Basically, yeah. What can we expect from the DCEU, Mike?
I mean, like today or like going forward?
In terms of characters and whatever.
Oh yeah, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the you know, the holy trinity of early comic book heroes.
Yeah,
Really, you know.
basically. Yeah. Who? Let's just kick it off with before we start because we're gonna. The title says part one. We're probably gonna have to do two parts to cover all of the movies where we want to go. So we're gonna, chronologically move through the movies. Let's quickly hit it off. Like, who's your favorite DC hero, and what is your favorite DC movie?
My favorite hero is Batman.
Agreed.
My I grew up. Um, I was 5 years old, I think, when the '89 Batman movie came out. Obviously,
Mm.
I don't remember it or anything, but uh, at some point around that time, my dad had got the VHS, and he was a huge Nicholson and a Keaton fan. So I must have watched it dozens and dozens of times.
Same here, man.
So that's and I also I would watch the Adam West show as a kid. It was on like reruns and stuff.
Oh, man, same here. I love the animated series, by the way. The
Oh,
first,
yep,
thought that was amazing as well.
yep.
So I agree with you that Batman is my favorite hero as well.
Hmm.
Um, and there are many reasons. I mean, there are so many incarnations of Batman in both the comics and in the movie. So
Yep.
it's you can always people will always go like this is why this is whatever. For me, the biggest reason why I always love Batman is there's this one little meme at some point where you're like they take the two billionaire superheroes, Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne,
Hmm.
and they strip everything away. And at the end of the day, Tony is just basically a rich dude who's pretty clever, and
Hmm.
that's it. He just built a suit, and then you got Bruce Wayne who trained himself, not just as a martial artist, but as a detective, as just basically a mastermind in sort of like a modern day Sherlock Holmes. He became an actor to learn how to become somebody else in his persona as Batman. So that's what I always appreciated. And I think as for a favorite movie, I mean, probably because what you just said, because of childhood sentiment, it will probably be that '89 Batman movie. It's a flawed movie, and
Oh
there
yeah,
are, in terms of how movies were made, in terms of editing, directing, everything story wise, there are better DC movies.
yeah.
But just that.
The
Hmm?
big problem with that one is the last act. Once it gets to where the Batwing gets crashed in front of the church, then
Hmm.
from there the end makes no sense at all. But I don't know. I love it. It's probably sentimentally like you my favorite. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. And still, by the way, I'm one of the people who appreciates Batman Returns as a sequel.
me
I
too.
thought it
I like
was
that one.
very well done. I liked it.
Hmm.
But we're not talking about those DC movies. We're going to talk specifically about the DCEU, the expanded universe. Do you have a favorite when it comes to those movies?
Um, I do have a favorite. Um, but I think it's not the best popcorn movie. It's a movie that I think is underappreciated. I don't think people have the I arrogantly think people don't have the attention span for it. So,
Hmm.
my favorite is Batman v Superman. I like it. Yep,
Yeah,
it is.
in the extended edition, in the
Yeah,
direct. Yeah,
I like. I mean, I'm fine with both, but by far, like the longer, more informative cut is better to me.
I totally agree because there is, as much as there is so much to point out in that movie that is pretty bad. Really, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in that movie that really kind of suck. But somehow it still works. It is quite potent. It does deliver in many ways, and I actually think if you watch Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman back to back,
It works.
you have a great viewing experience. And yeah, you're right. It's not the best popcorn movie because it can get pretty intense at some points. There's a very interesting version, a very interesting take on Batman here, if you ask me. Um, his his tendency to be quite brutal and almost a villain in a way
Oh yeah. Yep.
is
Yeah,
quite interesting.
but I also don't think it's as I don't think it is as revolutionary as people think. Batman originally killed in the comics in the early issues. He's killed in since then, not a lot, but has
Mhm.
since then. Michael Keaton's Batman definitely killed like a bunch
Absolutely.
of times. Bale definitely killed. Like it's just a weird thing. It's honestly it's post Dark Knight trilogy that people are like, oh yeah, Batman doesn't kill after they watch Bale kill. I'm not sure why. Um, but uh, but but like Keaton is like really probably one of the worst in such that he at one point straps a bomb to a guy and kicks him
Mhm.
into a hole to get blown up. You know what I
That's
mean?
murder. That is literally murder. There is no
Yeah.
self-defense in that. See, in some of the cases where he really beats people up, you can say, okay, it was self-defense or it was maybe excessive force.
Hmm.
But the thing with the bomb,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's murder. There is no
Yep.
self-defense in that.
I mean, in the first one, he blows up a factory full of people. That it blows up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm not like saying, like, well, the other ones did it too. What I'm just saying is just like,
Oh
um,
yeah.
it's a movie, man. Like, go watch Iron Man. He kills people. Go watch
Oh
Captain America.
yeah.
The white bread American hero kills people continuously. Like the comic book movies, get over it. They're
Yeah.
on a page you can sort of get around things a little bit. Like if you're trying to place something somewhat in a realistic world, it's going to
Mhm.
be hard to avoid it.
Of course, of course. And this is actually because now we're talking about this is a nice segue going into the first movie that we kind of want to talk about because we're
Hmm.
talking about superheroes killing. And this is one of the biggest problems people have with Man of Steel. Now,
I
I'm
have
not
no
going to
problem
want to
with
go.
it.
I didn't either. I don't want to go straight to the ending, but I do understand that um, there were many people very upset with this take on Superman
Hmm.
for many reasons. Personally, again, I very much enjoyed Man of Steel from the
Me too.
first time I saw it until still every rewatch that I do. I do understand though that people have this glorified image of the real American hero,
Hmm.
and it was pretty hard for people to watch this role model take a life.
Yeah, but whenever they bring that up, they always say like, well, Christopher Reeve was my hero and he was just, oh shucks. And then
Mm-hmm.
I said, did you ever watch Superman 2? Do you remember when he depowers the villains, breaks his hand and throws him into a pit to kill him? He's depowered. He's now a human. He he takes him, breaks him and throws him into a hole like to die. I'm sorry. Like
That is murder again.
it is, yeah, and it's fine. I don't care. Like obviously none of this bothers me, but I'm just saying it's like
No,
fucking relax, you know?
uh, agreed, and especially in this movie, in Man of Steel. Wait, how about we just go
Okay.
first? Just let's begin with Man of Steel.
Yep.
Generally speaking, what is your opinion on Man of Steel?
Man of Steel it is my favorite Superman movie. It is Henry Cavill's my is the best on-screen Superman we've ever had, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It is it does break with tradition a little bit in a lot of ways. But nothing that I find to be um like nothing I find to be like problematic. It's sort of it shores up a few things um that don't really work, that we sort of accept because comic books are comic books and it's what we
Hmm.
know. Um, I think that the last third, well, not the last third, maybe the last act, let's put it that way, can be a little draining, but
Agreed.
I think that, we never got that sort of thing on screen with Superman before. We never got it in the Reeves films, and we never got it and we did not get it in Superman Returns. Everyone bitched it in Superman Returns. Oh, he never even threw a single punch. That's like, all right, well, he throws a bunch of them in this one.
He does. He does. And I think that that is one of the things that what I really appreciated about Man of Steel is that many of the Superman movies or Superman incarnations, TV shows, and whatever, have always been about Clark coming to terms with his powers. It's about him discovering his powers and things like that. This movie is about Clark, Superman, Kal-El discovering who he is as a person. It's about discovering your own identity and separating yourself from what you have been taught to what you have learned for yourself. Who am I? Do I live up to people's expectations? Do I live up to my own? Um, and of course, this fantasy setting and everything. I mean, that all makes perfect sense. But it felt to me like a real character piece and a real
Yeah.
finding, like, coming to terms that you are something that you are, and then showing that to the world.
Yep. I mean, I guess I never. I guess I don't look into things in a very literary way sometimes because I don't know. Like that's a kind of mature look at it and sort of effective way. I would, if I was to describe the movie, I would give a very literal, like, sequence of events, and you kind of have a succinct character idea
Mhm.
of uh, of who Clark is in that movie. Um, I would not have phrased it that way, but that's maybe I'm less intelligent than you.
No, 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 no. That's not it. That's not it. But I think it is. I think it is the first movie that really tried to focus on. See, this is one of the reasons we're not talking about the Marvel movies, but this is one of the reasons that I really appreciate the MCU and the Marvel movies, because a lot of superhero movies are always about the hero. They're about Batman, they're about Superman, the older movies, right? They're about the first Spider-Man movies. They're about Spider-Man. And what the Marvel movies really did to me, the MCU, is these were movies about Tony Stark, about Steve Rogers. You know what I mean? They were movies about the people behind the superhero costume, and that is what I felt Man of Steel really tried to do. They tried to make it about Kal-El.
Yeah, but I think that it's it's a little more daring. It has a little more to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it better. It makes it different. I think
Agreed.
that I think that um I mean, like, for sure, like, say, let's say the first Iron Man, that movie took some swings, and I think that Incredible Hulk took some big swings. I think some of the early ones took big swings. I think at this point they've sort of all, in my opinion, sort of become a little bit cookie cutter and formulaic. Um,
Oh yeah.
it's an opinion. I'm not trying to swing anyone my way. I I think that, but if you look, when they were taking bigger swings, the movies made less money. So I mean, who's right, who's wrong here? Um, because, like, I mean, was it like Captain America made only a couple hundred, maybe a couple hundred million, which is a lot of money. But
Oh
the
yeah.
movies weren't a huge success. Incredible Hulk wasn't a huge success. Uh, Iron Man 1 made like 600 million or maybe less. Um, but like they made money, but they weren't like what they became later. When I
No,
think they were more interesting, they made less money. So, you know, that's
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Because one of the things that I always appreciated about Man of Steel is, oddly enough, and I know that a lot of fans of the movie uh, want to discuss this. I always really appreciated that movie's take on Lois Lane.
Oh, interesting. Yep. Okay, I agree with
I
you.
I I thought that Amy Adams was fantastic in the part, but I always thought that this was one of the most. I know this sounds weird, but one of the most intelligent versions of Lois Lane that we've ever had.
Yep.
Like somebody that actually lives up to the "I'm an investigative reporter" idea.
Yep. I think that it's easy to make Lois a damsel.
Yeah,
It's easy to make her sort of a non-character, um, or I mean, or I don't know what Kate Bosworth did in Superman Returns. That was really not. I don't know if it was her fault or the writing, but that was not a very good take on Lois. Um, I think the like Erica Durant did okay as Lois. Like that was a character. I think Terry Hatcher, that was a character, but you had a long time to build those.
hmm
In films they really weren't. I think that what's her name in the Margot Kidder, like I think she did the best she could with what they had for material. Like you definitely felt like she cared for Superman or whatever, but the movies never gave her much to do.
no,
This one, the it was a fully realized character with her own
yeah,
ambitions, her own intelligence, her own like she was her own character. She was a character without Superman. You know.
exactly, exactly. This is one of the. She was actually integral in developing the plot, the story, but also being part of the solution on fixing the problem, not just being there. She was actively part of fixing the entire situation with the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Sorry,
yeah,
taking my vitamins. My bad.
take your vitamins, dude. It's cool. You need your vitamins. You need to, you know.
Yep.
Mhm. I think that one of the biggest. I think that one of the biggest things is that Man of Steel. Um, when was Man of Steel released? I need to Google this very quickly.
2013.
2013. So see, here's a movie that has to try. I'm gonna quickly Google this. Man of Steel. Yeah, 2013. You're right. So this is the movie that really had to fight the established superhero genre that was going on with the MCU, right?
Yeah, but also had to follow up Dark Knight Rises. It was the first DC
All
movie
yes,
ever,
absolutely. Was
and
it tough? Sorry.
those movies made a lot of money, and I think
Mhm.
they sort of reset what DC was expecting to make on each film instead of kind of realizing that they should invest in the world instead of making snap judgments continuously because a movie didn't make $1 billion.
Mhm.
They forgot that Iron Man didn't make a billion. They forgot
Oh.
they forgot that Captain America didn't make a billion, Thor didn't make a billion, Iron Man 2 didn't make a billion. All those movies, the first one that hit the big mark was Avengers.
The coming together, and this is probably yeah. We should. This is something that we could work towards because that I think that is one of the biggest reasons why the DCEU has flaws is because they approached it. They wanted to beat the MCU. They wanted to, they really wanted to work very quickly toward Justice League, do the big, team build up thing with because Avengers was such a big hit. But that's something we'll have to work towards. Um, but yeah, I think that when it comes to successful, like well made um, and DCEU movies, Man of Steel definitely stands very high, very well made, very well directed, very well edited. I felt they really worked well with actors, had great performances from basically everyone.
Mr. Michael Shannon, he was
Oh my
awesome.
gosh, he was creepy as fuck.
Oh, so good.
Oh man, he was great. Um, Setting up a real alien world with Krypton.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
I was never a big fan of the way Krypton looked in the Reeves films, which looked like a kind of a crystalline kind of. It didn't look like a lived-in world. It didn't look like a place where things really happened.
Mhm.
This one felt like a world. There was in only, you know, you don't get a whole lot of it, but it felt like something that you can expand upon. You know
They
what I mean?
had well, they tried with the show. I haven't seen the show. Have
A little
you?
bit. I
I haven't
tried. It
seen
was
it.
not that good.
Okay, but they really did actually create like you said, an environment. There was an actual world there with Krypton. They gave it history in that introduction of the movie in the first act that is set on Krypton. You get so much information, so much world building in the first, what is it, 10 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 15.
I
It's
don't
not
know.
long. Yep.
No, but it's so much world building. You actually start to believe like this is not just a planet that went boom. This is an actual environment. This is where people grew up. This is history. There's history into this place. I love that. I thought it was very well done, and really gave a lot more body to the rest of the movie. Suddenly, you are aware, like in a very twisted way, you can kind of see what Zod and his henchmen are to. You understand their frustration, their problems. It gives the villains in the movie a bit more depth as well. They're not just two-dimensional, twirling their mustache. No, they actually have a reason. They have something they really believe in, making them much more frightening.
The only thing, this is preposterous too, and I love the movie. So, but you can't love movies if you're not able to be fair as well. Um,
Hmm.
the politicians, they knew the world was ending. They knew that they were going to die, and like 8 minutes before they did that, they sent Zod and his minions to a prison off planet where they would live. It made no
Like,
sense.
it made no sense. That is still. I always have the feeling. I always still have the feeling that there was time in between there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was more than 8 minutes, but it was the planet they knew was going to
Mm.
die. I mean, it wasn't a matter of. I imagine it was within a small amount of time. Uh,
Yeah.
but Jesus Christ.
But that brings me to, by the way, something that is for me the biggest issue with many, many, many DCEU movies
Hmm.
is the editing.
I don't agree, but
No,
expand.
for me, if I look, for example, I watched. I have the same. I have the problem with Batman versus Superman. That is one of
Okay.
my issues with the movie. I have that problem with Suicide Squad. Is that there's the editing is all very choppy and quick and fast and shit happens. It just a thing happened and a thing happened and a thing happened and a thing happened and a thing happened, and there's no real flow in the movie.
Hmm.
And that problem already started a little bit with Man of Steel for me.
I see. Okay. I I
But
I don't I don't I don't agree with that. I think that it's probably a case with Suicide Squad, because they at the last minute tried to make a different movie than what they already had. So I don't think I think it was, um while it doesn't necessarily bother me, so it bothers some people, and it is what it is. I'm not trying to bring anyone to my cause, but the movie was turned into something it wasn't, like, pretty late in the game, you know. And I do think that it came down to just trying to form a story, or with existing footage, and make the movie wasn't what David Ayer was intending to make, and there was a big trailer put together that was maybe not quite the tone he had, and it was
Mhm.
so popular that they made some
Hmm.
hard turns late in
But
the game.
did you know, by the way, that many basically these days trailers aren't made by studios anymore?
No, they made by outside parties.
They made by outside parties. They just get
Yeah.
footage like this is what we have, and you just make
Yep.
something snappy out of it.
Hundred
A
percent.
lot of the time, yeah, a lot of the times these the people making the trailers have no idea what the movie is about.
Nope.
They just get a general idea, maybe like general idea, and they expand on it.
Yep.
And they just go like, okay, we'll make it snappy. We'll put some nice music under it. And what kind of movie is it? Is it a drama? Is it an action movie? Is it a comedy? So they get some snippets of that, and then they smash something together. And the trailer for me really presented a very different movie than what we ultimately got.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Hmm.
I And I mean, I want to stick to Man of Steel. We'll get to that one in a second. Um, I think like I don't think that there was in my opinion there wasn't an issue as far as like even with fast cuts with Man of Steel until you get to the big action scenes, which is like not unusual with action movies anyway.
Hmm.
Um I felt like the only thing that um was weird to me was maybe the shortcutting and abbreviating of Lois and Clark's relationship. I thought that that one felt a little abrupt, a little too fast tracked. But
Hmm.
I felt on the whole until you get to basically when Clark is being was trying to take out that machine in the Indian Ocean or wherever the hell it was. It was somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, from then on, it does get a little jump cutty, but it's an action film. It almost. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. It to me it's just what happens in action films. They're it's it's not like I felt like anything was lost up until that point, and at that point, plot is done. Now it's bang, 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 blow up. You know, and then
Hmm.
they get back to sort of a more personal story, right? To at the end when you get to the death of Zod. I thought that some of the stuff with uh, Clark and like when he was in the church with the priest,
Hmm.
that was some nice stuff. I thought,
It was a very beautiful, beautiful, well done scene.
yeah, and I'm not a religious. I'm virtually anti-religious to be fair, but I thought that was
Hmm.
a really well done scene. I liked that a lot. I thought it really kind of put a nice um, light on who Clark was. Um, I mean, I liked the battle in Smallville. That was real cool.
That
Um,
was very well done. I agree.
yeah, I mean, I like that movie. I can talk about like all things like all day, but we have to kind of move on a little bit. Do you want to move
Mhm.
like? I mean, would you any other major characters you want to kind of discuss before we get to the ending?
Well, there's one thing that I find very interesting is that, and we now know this because we can sort of talk about this. I forgot the general's name.
Swanwick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, are you following everything that's going on with the new Justice League version that they're
Hmm.
making?
Yeah.
Uh, have you been aware of apparently who he is?
Oh yeah. I've been aware of
Yeah.
that for a couple of years now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was pretty interesting, and I never knew that. And now watching that back, I'm like, oh wow, I wish they had done more with that. I wish that could have been
I would
developed.
I would guess that that's a retcon. I don't think that that was even if he says it was. I would say probably wasn't the idea when he made that character.
I don't know. It's interesting to look at it that way, especially
Hmm.
if you look at the Supergirl TV show, where they sort of did the same thing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that one I didn't feel like it was a retcon. Like that one looked like they were going there pretty early. But I mean, I just maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Shit, you know, but it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it was interesting.
I don't know. I don't know. I just think maybe it is a retcon, and maybe they were like, ah, no, we. It's easy to say we always had that idea. It is easy to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it also it you'd think he would have a little bit less um of he would have less of an attempted heavy hand on another alien like he did
Hmm.
with Clark.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It um I I mean I like the character either way.
Me
And
too.
I'm obviously down with Martian Manhunter. I don't give a shit. Megan Martian Manhunter. He's a great actor. I like him anyway. He was awesome in Dollhouse. That's how I know that actor, Harry Lennox.
I've never seen Dollhouse. I should check that out. I should check that out.
It's a weird show, but
I've
he's on
heard.
it. He's good.
I've heard that. So let's shall we move into what is maybe one of the most both loved and hated DCEU movies?
Well, I want to actually talk about the ending with
Oh,
the
go for it. Sorry.
suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. It's interesting that yeah, like I don't know. Like, you're talking about let's say let's go within story here because I don't want to. like whenever you can do anything you want with a pen, like you can
Hmm.
write it around any way you want. Um, but the story they were telling was, um, I think I think the only way you were going to stop that Zod, that Zod they created, Michael Shannon, General Zod, was to murk him. He was not going to stop. He was going to kill anything. I think Superman is. I mean, as we see, like you watch the movie and pay attention, like a lot of destruction. There's probably a lot of deaths.
Oh yeah.
The least concerned is just the bad guy. You know, like, can you believe he killed that guy? I'm like, no, what about the other 30,000? You know.
Exactly, because at that point, yes, so people are complaining about did he actually kill? He probably Superman at that point is responsible for many deaths.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that is actually something. And again, we can talk about that when we get to the movie. That is something basically that Batman versus Superman goes into. You know,
Yeah. Um,
um,
but I do love Shannon Zod. I think it was awesome. I think that guy was just like a Terminator. It was so good, and man, I love him. That was awesome. But you know, that final scene or some final act opens Batman v Superman.
yeah. And again, you mentioned it as well. Despite me acknowledging that there are things wrong with Batman versus Superman, I find it one of the most entertaining and attention grabbing movies in the DCEU.
Okay.
Because of the entire concept where we take what are two of the most popular superheroes in comic book history, and they're both really not very likable in this movie.
I think I think Clark's likable.
Yeah, well,
Um,
Clark. I'm talking about Superman.
well, I mean, I I don't know. I don't have an issue. Is he not likable? I don't know. Like I think people think he's, you know, dark, but I mean he saves a bunch of people on a boat early in the movie. He saves people from floods. He does all these good things. I don't know why people like. He's not very likable. Like, well, that's you fucking reflecting. Not you, but people.
No, no, no.
Um,
I mean, he did good stuff in this movie, but I'm talking about when he's a bit of an asshole. But so is Batman. They're both assholes. They're both acting like, I know better than other people because I am me.
I would definitely agree that, like, Batman. I would agree with the Batman part. I think that he is essentially the villain for the first 2/3 of the movie, even though he's not
Mhm.
necessarily villainous.
No, but
But he's definitely sort of the antagonist of the first 2/3 of the film for sure. Um,
absolutely.
but the thing is, I know that there's like people that shit on this version. Most people agree with the Martha rescue scene as like really awesome Batman stuff. But like
Agreed.
I was there's one bit early in the movie where Bruce goes into the cave and Alfred's down there and Alfred says something like things have changed and he says we're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals and nothing has changed. And like I think that like Batman like is traditionally a vigilante. He's not like he's cool with Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon, I think, views him as like a necessary kind of thing, but
Hmm.
he's not a good guy. He's
No,
deranged. He is depressed. He's obsessive. He's not like he's a criminal. He is at least as bad as some people he puts in prison. You know?
agreed. Agreed. I mean, we're talking about a person that never got over some intense childhood trauma,
Yeah, yeah.
never learned how to deal with it,
Hmm.
is so entirely bitter with a system that, I mean, he's right, a system that doesn't work. And just because he has now, I mean, it sounds hard but he has money and he feels he's entitled, and he
I
goes out and, I mean, I still love Batman. Don't get me wrong.
yeah
I still think he's one
yeah
of my favorite. But it is because of all that, the more depth to the character, is that this is a guy who basically says every night when the sun goes down, I'm going to hurt people. I'm going to
yeah
take matters in my own hand. I am going to say that the system doesn't work, but instead of trying to fix the system, I'm just going to do my own shit.
yep. No, I agree. He's a psychopath. I
He
think
is.
he is someone that thinks he knows better. You
Hmm.
know, I do like that by the end of the movie he realizes he doesn't know better. You know what I mean? Like he still thinks he knows better in a different way, but he's changed his his viewpoint a little bit on where he's going to direct his anger. But
Hmm.
um, but that the character itself as portrayed, what I like is that he's scary.
Hmm.
Like
He is.
that scene in the house with the cops and the whatever. Like I mean he's a just a scary dude. He's sort of legendary in a way. Uh, like he's
Mm.
extremely powerful. Like that is really like on screen at least. I mean he's clearly gone overboard. But that's the story they were telling, is that he was pushed and he's not quite being himself. They said he's different. He's angry. He's hunting. There's all these things that they're explaining even in the movie that say that this is not the Batman that was before. Like even like I said, Alfred says something. Oh, things have changed. He's like, nothing's changed. But it does seem like um they've created a Batman that is in most ways as comics accurate, even the way he looks, as we've ever seen. Um, though I do agree that at that point his actions have kind of they've gotten a little more brutal for sure.
Exactly. I always. By the way, how about we quickly go into some comments? Maybe that's a good idea for now,
Joe
because
Gonzalez has a
otherwise,
really good comment at the end. I want to work our way to it, but
yeah.
but it's a good
So,
one.
Thijs is asking, what do you think about the movie The Green Mile or Braveheart? Well, I love both movies, but
Great movies. Yeah.
they're great movies. But we're on a basically on a topic right now talking about other kind of movies. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I loved, like Joe said, The Green Mile was an awesome book and a movie.
Yep.
I'm guessing this is Sean.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't have to do Road to Justice League anymore. I win. Mike wins. I don't know what that means, but
I'll
uh,
explain later.
I think. Well, Tice, I can recommend the book to you. It's a beautiful book. I thought G.I. Joe was the real American hero. Fair
Fair enough. Good call.
enough. Yeah, I prefer Shawshank Redemption above The Green Mile from Stephen King. Oh my,
I
that's
agree. I agree.
in terms of yeah. Ooh, tricky. Different subject for a different live stream maybe. But yeah, characters you should. Yeah, agreed. Good movie. Never read the book. Waldo de Sima was brand new year. Yay, lol. Okay. Yes, it seems like Warner Brothers just rides roughshod over the DC TV and film people. That's why it doesn't work. Whereas Disney seems to give Marvel full autonomy on their umbrella. Well, yeah. I'm.
I won't agree with that, but okay.
I think I think I don't know if there's full autonomy. I think Disney really basically is telling them to, like, this is what you need to do and this is what we expect from you, and if you don't do it, you're in trouble.
Yeah, but
But
also they have their own studio. It's Marvel Studios. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
have it's a different thing. Clearly more successful. So I mean, there we go.
yeah. Is DC versus MCU like you were a fan of one, hate the other? Not for me.
No, me neither.
No, I know that some people do, but not for me. I enjoy both.
Yep.
Yeah. I like Deadpool and Venom. Venom is actually, I liked Venom. It worked. It was a weird movie, but it was entertaining.
It was okay. I liked. I didn't like the movie that much, but I loved the way he looked. He looked awesome.
Mm. It was much. It was a much better take on Venom than the
Tobey
um,
Maguire.
the Tobey Maguire version. And by the way, I love that in this Venom, basically Venom is considered to be like a bit of a loser. The
Yeah.
symbiote is basically considered a loser in his own society. I kind of like that one. We think he's badass, and then the original cuts to see if they make better films. This is one of the reasons that I really like, director's editions. Adam
Yep.
has a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
I just think what is executed. Agreed. I will agree on that. I do.
I don't.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, no. I mean, just because something's successful doesn't make it good. Look at NSYNC.
It's a good one. That's a good one. NSYNC. No. I think they're equally as good, just the execution that puts one above the other. Well, you basically just comment on that as well.
Well, no, I do think that one is. I mean, one does it doesn't make it one better than the other. It just I do think that there's a reason why Disney's been successful for so long, even though their movies aren't always that great. They just have they just have they have a way of it's like it's super formulaic, but it's the right formula. Like it works for a lot of people. But for me, like sometimes it works the big way, sometimes it doesn't. For me, doesn't it? I just don't always love it. Sometimes I do though.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
There we go. Adam is saying, Batman vs Superman. I always thought White Bastard is one of the best stories ever written. The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. Well, yeah.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
They did take a lot from that story to put into this movie. I'm not as big on the story. It's good. I mean, it's one I've read several times. From front to back, it's one of the most iconic Batman stories. But I mean, I know. I mean, I do love it. I guess I was just trying to I don't like where it went with the Dark Knight Strikes Again and stuff like that. I guess, but it's good. I think they did a good job with the animated movie. Did you see that one?
Not yet.
It's really good. So check that out. If you're a fan of that story, check that one out. It's really good.
I will. I'll check it out. So this is, I think, the comment that you wanted to work towards.
Yeah. No. It's accurate. I mean, within reason. I guess during the golden age, it probably wasn't. But in say the post like 80s. I mean, look at even just by the way, Dark Knight Returns. He obviously doesn't have a huge trust of Clark in that one. There are plenty of stories where it says Batman has a gun with a kryptonite bullet, just in case. You know what I mean? Yeah. Alex Ross has a really good short story kind of thing where Batman shoots Superman with the kryptonite bullet. There's a story. I forget what it's called. I forget what it's called. They ended up. I think they made an animated movie kind of about it, where Batman has sort of ways to defeat all of the Justice League in order to and one of them Superman.
Yeah, he basically look, at the end of the day, it's very simple. Bruce has a lot of trust issues.
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't trust anyone, which is interesting because lately the comics and some of those cartoons have been really focusing on how. At least I don't read the comics, but this is from what I'm gathering online, what I'm reading, is that they're really focusing on the storyline where Bruce and Clark really trust each other and they're great friends, and they're like, we're close and we're best buddies, and that's an interesting take on what has always been distrust, like an acceptance of the fact that I know you're out there and I'm out there, but we can work together because we share a common goal, but I don't trust you.
I think it'd be incredibly easy to distrust something or someone that incredibly powerful. It'd be very, very difficult. It would take a lot of extreme willpower to be that incredibly powerful and be always good. You know, um, obviously that's the character Clark is. So
Hmm.
but I can um like Batman's like my favorite character, but man, he would be a shithead to know. He's not like a good
Oh yeah,
guy. He's a
he
fucking
isn't.
asshole. You know.
But yeah, he is. And I think that goes for a lot of the people that we like. A lot of look at a lot of the action heroes that we love. We love, like, for example, just look at Die Hard, the Die Hard movies. Everybody's like, "Oh, John McClane. John McClane's an asshole."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We all love John McClane, and we're all like, "Woohoo, John McClane!" If you knew John McClane in real life, you'd hate his gut.
Yeah. I also think that that's sort of the case with like with a lot of I don't know, don't meet your heroes, what they say.
Yeah.
But if you think um if you think anyone historically that was a big hero doesn't have a few fucking skeletons in their closet, you know,
Oh yeah.
they probably do. And if you want to go back, if you want to go back any amount of time, like past a century, they probably batted their wives around a few times. Like these are
Oh
people that
shit.
aren't, they're not people that you'd want to know, I
Nope.
think.
This goes for historically and um, oddly enough, historically, we know that there's many people that we love and feel like they're great people, and then when you really look into their backstory, their history, there's lots of stuff out there, and you can look it up. But for fictional heroes, the same thing goes. I mean,
Hmm.
um, there were a lot of people, for example, who were really like a bit pissed off that they chose Scott Lang as the first Ant-Man for the movies,
Yeah,
and
that's
sort of
interesting.
stepping over Hank Pym.
Yep,
Hank Pym was an asshole in the comics. He was
yep,
literally a wife beater.
yep, yep.
He was
He,
literally a wife beater, and people were like, "Oh, but we need Hank Pym because Hank Pym is the original Ant Man, and if we're going to do Ant Man, we need to see him. He needs to be. We need the young." People were rooting for a wife beater. Why?
yeah,
Because he was the first Ant Man, so we should have him, and that doesn't really make sense.
I also think like the Hank Pym wife beater. I think that was one story. I don't know if it's been retconned or not, but it's a very famous one. Obviously, even you know about it, and you're not really a comics reader. So,
Oh,
but yeah, he
exactly.
definitely slapped around his wife or
Yeah.
once his wife.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly go to. They have not been able to recreate the same emphasis and involvement as the Marvel ones. Stories left halfway, films postponed several times, questionable narrative choices. Well, I think this is something that I wanted to touch on later, but we can sort of go into that now before we go into Batman versus Superman. Um, I think the problem is that the DCEU wanted to achieve what the MCU had, but they wanted to get there very quickly, and they
Maybe.
just they
I
just development hell.
mm, I also think that there's that's I think that that's somewhat of a overblown story. I obviously they weren't as successful, but there was five there was five movies before Avengers.
Hmm.
With DCU, there's four before Justice League. It's not like they went there in like after movie number two. You know what I mean? They
Yeah. Well, wait, 4 movies: Man of Steel.
BVS, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, then Justice League.
Did we get Suicide Squad before Justice League?
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
yeah,
Yeah, we did. I just watched the movie. Yeah, we had the end credit scene where he was right. Yeah, we did. Yeah, still, but I don't know. It all feels to me. You make a good point. Actually, you really make a good point there. It still feels to me that it's a bit of a muddled mess. That
no,
they just
yeah. I don't disagree. I don't disagree that there was some missteps for sure. I'm not, definitely, um, but it's not as sort of sometimes the narratives aren't quite the truth is all.
Mhm. True. Good point.
Um, but I mean, like the missteps, the biggest misstep they I think that they've committed is basically not committing. You know,
Hmm.
like I said before, the first five um, Marvel films were like they were a mixed bag of success. Even though I think, except for one, I think they're all very good. Um,
Which one would
No,
you say isn't, by the way? Just
Thor. That
curious.
movie's trash. Um,
Ouch.
it was so bad. But I like the first two Iron Man. I really liked the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
Same.
I
Agreed.
liked Captain America. Those are all good movies to me.
I actually think the first Thor movie, it's not the strongest of the bunch, but I actually like it a lot. I like the humor. I like what they were doing there. I still
Speaking of humor, let me interrupt you real quick. There's one part I love in that movie where he drinks with Selvig, and he gets back to the trailer, wherever the hell they were, and he goes to put him in bed, and she's like, "What happened?" It's like, "We drank, we fought. He made his ancestors proud."
Sisters Proud. Yeah, I love that line. We drank, we fought. I love that line, and that
Me
is
too.
that is why. See, as a movie, I understand. I agree with you. There's flawed things in that movie, but I just love the movie. There are so many small, great moments, so many lovely bits of humor. Um, there's a line actually that's missing from the movie that's in the trailer where when he gets thrown out of the Rainbow Bridge
Hmm.
and he's like, "Where am I in the desert?" And at some point he's like, "Oh, it's Earth, isn't it?" Just
Oh, that's
these
nice.
little tidbits of humor, and I just love that in a movie. I agree though. But before we go into the Marvel, we're talking about DC. We're talking about the DC thing. I'm going to quickly run through the comments. I agree with Michael. The follow-up book wasn't. Oh yeah, the ones you guys were talking
Dark
about
Knight.
earlier.
Yeah.
Good evening, hello, Minnow. The films, even the Nolan ones, ignored that Batman is supposed to be the world's greatest detective. I think that the Nolan movies, at one point in the second one, The Dark Knight, when he's doing the analysis of the bullet,
Yeah.
that's the one scene in all of the Batman movies we ever got where he really shows that he's a detective, that he knows how to solve crimes. That's the only scene we ever really got, I feel, in any of the Batman movies.
Um.
Other than that, he's just basically a ninja with a cape,
No,
beating
I
people
mean,
up.
in Batman '89, he determines all the chemical makeup of what the Joker's,
Yeah, good one.
and he figures out who Joker is. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was definitely a detective in that one.
Good point. Good point.
The second one, less so. That was more of just Tim Burton's deranged world. I like it; it's fun, but um, I mean, he does a little bit in that one too, I guess. But as far as like forensic type detective, the Dark Knight and Batman '89 for sure. Um, he's clearly hunting down and trying to figure out what's going on in Batman v Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a detective a little bit in that one. But
Wait,
you
you
know,
you dropped off there for a second. What were you saying?
no, so in that one he's definitely a little bit of a detective. Uh,
Yeah.
never anything so much like Batman Year One. You know what I mean? That type of a detective story, I suppose. But I mean, I don't know. I think I mean I'm not. I don't think that anyone's here. Any of their opinions are wrong, or I don't think that anyone is necessarily incorrect. I have my opinion. Um, I also think sometimes narratives develop and you know, they're not necessarily always accurate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, I mean, like, well, let's kind of beat around BVS a little bit because we only just got started here. Um, the a lot of people don't like the portrayal of Lex Luthor.
That was definitely one of the things that I wanted to bring up. In the meantime,
Okay,
for everybody in the chat, who's your favorite superhero? Very curious what people are going to say.
yeah,
Um, go for it. What are your opinions on Lex Luthor in this movie?
I like him.
In
He's good.
yeah, you liked. Okay.
Well, think about it, like he's smarmy, he's shitty, he's psychopathic, he's just a fucking dick. He's he's not likable at all.
Hmm.
How is that not Lex Luthor? Oh, and he's really intelligent. He has a lot of money. How is that not Lex Luthor?
And all of that aside, he just felt like
Gross.
I don't know. It, he just felt like a little. I don't know, a little
Weasel.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He's not going to best Superman physically. He's not going to best
no,
him.
you're all you know you're yeah, you're definitely not wrong. It's just I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. And the thing is, when you the way you describe it right now, I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe yeah, he actually did a very good job there.
Well, it's definitely a different take. I'm not. It wasn't. It maybe wasn't. Like I think a lot of people were pulling for like Bryan Cranston to get the role because I think he just done that overrated TV show he was on, where he had shaved his head, and he would have been a good like sort of he would have been a really good Lex Luthor. Bryan Cranston's a great actor, so
Yes,
um,
he's definitely a great actor.
um, but I think that people wanted something a little more gruff, and when they had like uh, a Weasley version, I think they just rub people the wrong way. I don't. But when they're like, "Oh, that's not Lex Luthor," I'm like, "It literally is." I mean, literally is Lex Luthor. It's just, not as maybe I think they would like gruff and intimidating, but like, who the fuck's he gonna intimidate? You know what I mean? Like,
You make a few good points. You make a few good points actually, because I have to admit, I know that for a lot of people, there when they think of Lex Luthor, there's one incarnation that they always think of, and that for
Clancy
me is one
Brown,
of the which one?
the Clancy Brown.
What was that?
My watch looked up Clancy Brown.
Oh,
Um,
I was like, what? Clancy Brown, yeah, in the animations. No, but you know which version of Lex Luthor I never really liked? Gene Hackman.
yeah, that's yeah, but I think that's easy for us. And I know, granted, um, I mean, all I do is keep trying to have. Let me just say this is devil's advocate because I'm
Hmm.
not a huge fan of that version either. But also, like the version we know of Lex now, the corrupt businessman and everything, that's the 1980s. That's when that's when like that Wall Street type evil became
Yep.
very obvious to the United States, and that's when he became that type of character. Before that, he was sort of like a mad scientist kind of a character. He wasn't that guy in the business suit, and he was sort of a zany dude in the green robot suit and being kind of oh, Superman, I'll get you, and it's a different type of a character than the version that we know like from the Superman animated series or even John Shea in the Lois Clark show or whatever.
I actually really liked. Do you mean the Supergirl version? What's his
Oh,
face?
John Cryer.
I loved that. Was a very very well done take on Lex Luthor.
It was interesting. I stopped watching the show at that point, so the only thing I'd really seen was in the crossover event that they did at the last year or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, the crisis.
yeah, he's gleeful, man. That guy, he has a little bit of Gene Hackman in him though, like
He
that sort of
does
little bit of joy.
very, very, very well, very well said. Very good point. I think it's mostly because everybody knows him from the worst sitcom ever, Two and a Half Men. I despise that show, and that's where we all know him from. And to just suddenly see him in that part and really throwing his acting chops out there and proving that he can do so much more than just be that one character from Two and a Half Men. I was like, what?
Or
I love
Ducky,
that. Who?
Ducky,
Help me out here.
John Hughes movies. He was it Pretty in Pink? I think it was.
He was in
Uh,
there.
John Cryer.
I love the John. I don't think I've seen Pretty in Pink, by the way, but I do love the John
Yeah,
Hughes movies.
yeah, Pretty in Pink. He was Ducky in Pretty in Pink. I'm almost positive.
I still need to see Pretty in Pink. It's the one John Hughes movie that John Hughes movie that I still need to check out.
Yeah,
But let's get back to Batman versus Superman. So
as we do.
as um, people were all about, Avengers is like something that is pretty hard to do. The Avenger movies, like or Justice League, all these team up movies.
Mhm.
But when you really think about it, Batman versus Superman is a very daring project. That's not something that's easy to pull off.
No, I mean, I think it was. I think it was a challenge to try to. I mean, they was sort of a weird deconstruction in somewhat of a way, um, but yeah, looking at it back at it now, like the movie they were trying to make, it's not a surprise that it was so divisive.
Hmm.
I think people wanted the world's finest. They wanted their heroes to be, you know, more superhero-y than um, get to know Bruce and getting to know Clark. I think they wanted Superman and Batman. They wanted
Hmm.
a superhero story, not a really dark and violent kind of story that doesn't ever let up, and even at the end is depressing. It doesn't. The movie doesn't have a whole lot of levity.
No, it
You
doesn't.
know.
I think this is, by the way, something that a lot of people complain about when it comes to the DCEU movies, and
Yeah.
they've changed that tone a little bit. But in the early DCEU movies, even the first Wonder Woman movie has that. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, tones of depression and anxiety and things being crap and things being bad. Um, in a very, very, very dark way. Even literally, like the movies are, dark. The
Yeah.
the 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 entire everything is bleak and dark and ugly. I don't know if this was a deliberate choice, but it's something that stands out.
I would say probably not. All the people making the movies were um there were different directors,
Mm.
like different writers. It wasn't. I don't think it was necessarily. I mean, Zack Snyder doesn't make that pleasant of movies. You know what I mean? Like
True.
he did that Dawn of the Dead movie. That movie was fucked up. you know? He did Watchmen. That was dark and bleak, and
Agreed.
you know,
It's a
the
Zack. It is a bit of a Zack Snyder thing, but let's not forget that in the end of the day, though, it's the studios that decide. The same thing goes for Marvel movies. You have different directors, you have different production teams. Sure, but in the end of the day, it's the studios. It's like Kevin Feige coming in and going like, no, 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 it needs to be this and this and that.
Yeah, for sure. But Kevin Feige is he's God to them. You know what I mean? There's no
Mhm.
one like that with Warner Brothers. They've had three different I don't know CEOs in the last 5 years. You know what I mean? It's I think that um I think that it just ended up sort of being that way. I don't think it was anything. I don't think there's any directive from the top. And if there was, someone was probably looking at the Nolan films and got the wrong idea. The
Mhm.
movies weren't successful because they were dark. They were successful because it had an interesting take on Batman. You know what I mean? And interesting villains and interesting cast. You know.
I think, yeah, I think the Dark Knight trilogy, the one with the Nolan movies, is one of the first Batman movies that really realized that they were talking again. Like I mentioned earlier about the MCU movies, it was one of the first superhero movies that really focused on the person, not the hero, like on Bruce Wayne. The movie was much more about Bruce Wayne, I felt, than about Batman.
Yeah, I also think that in general, like I don't think Batman's like he he's always the least interesting thing about his solo movies.
Mhm.
He's him versus the Joker. The Joker is the most interesting thing. Second one, yeah, Danny DeVito just. I mean, I think I actually saw him chewing on things. When I was chewing up scenery and all those scenes. Uh, you know, Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, how do you not look at her? She's just amazing. And then even if you go to the shitty Batman movies like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, it's Jim Carrey just prancing around and
Tommy Lee
it
Jones being just weird as fuck.
yeah, Batman's sort of like in the middle while the villains are dancing around him. They are the show,
Yeah, but
you
really,
know.
isn't a superhero, whether it's a comic or an animation or a movie, isn't the superhero only as good as the villain?
Yeah, you in general, yeah,
Yeah.
but um, I think I think I saw something that Frank Miller basically had said. I think it was him that Batman should be the least interesting thing in a Batman story. You know what I mean? Like he's like the force that will not move, and everything else is interesting and colorful around him. You know. Um,
It's
go ahead.
basically a line in The Dark Knight, right? What happens when an immovable object, when an unstoppable force encounters an unmovable object?
Yeah, that's also Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Probably, but still, I still think, yeah, you're into wrestling. I know you're. So for me, that
Eh,
I'll have to take your word
I
on
was
that.
as a little kid.
But I think Batman versus Superman. Joe Gansel here is responding. He says it was difficult to pull off because it was two superheroes that had to fight each other. But if you read the comics, many superheroes had conflicts with each other. Of course, you need
100%.
conflict. You need conflict. A good story needs conflict to make it interesting.
Yeah, and
And well, it's just that there's so many people out there who are either you have loads of fans who are either Batman or either Superman, but there is loads out there that are both, and it's very hard to make a movie that is basically about two of the most popular superheroes ever fighting. And the beginning of this movie, everything about this movie in the first hour, you're already aware of the fact this movie is not going to end well.
nope.
You are aware of the fact that this movie will not have a happy ending. And I think that's what bugged a lot of people. There was no way that this movie was going to get resolved in a
Nope.
way. And they tried to do the thing where, Martha, which is probably one of the worst ways to ever get to um, opposites to suddenly connect, like a name, really. But okay, other than that, they sort of threw their conflicts aside to achieve a common goal.
Yeah, I
And
mean, right at the end. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's when they realized they got played by Lex Luthor. You know.
and I kind of appreciate that they did that, but then Justice League happened.
Yeah.
And from the beginning of that movie, in that movie, Batman is all about woohoo Clark Kent, woohoo Superman. He's the best. He's the greatest. We need him. He's the ultimate. And I'm like, where did this all suddenly came from?
Yeah, but even in this one, when he goes to save um, Martha Kent, the big famous Martha rescue scene, which as someone who was it that made a comment about the Dark Knight Returns. There's a part where he says, I'll kill her, and he says, "I believe you." That's
Mhm.
directly from there. He is also directly from there where he grabs a guy through the wall. It's great stuff. It's the best way to, if you're gonna do something like that, that's the best way to do it. But either way, when he saves her, and he says, "I'm a friend of your son's," and she's like, "Yeah, I
Mhm.
figured. I saw the cape." You know, um,
See,
um,
those are the things that I love in this movie. There's so much to love in this movie, and it's some of those great one. You know what? We haven't even touched on this, but you know what my favorite line in this entire movie is? The
Martha,
best.
hey,
Uh,
grandma's.
no, there's many. It's still so fucking stupid. It's still so fucking funny, and this is the small part where they actually really connect as two people, just two people having a like, huh? Is that one moment where Wonder Woman comes in
Oh yeah,
and Clark goes like, "Is she with you? I thought she was with you."
yeah,
That small little, it has so many of those amazing, fantastic, great little moments,
yep.
and that is what makes this movie for me. And I still love watching it. I will always love watching it. Um, yeah,
Which, what do you think of uh Gal Gadot in this movie as Wonder Woman?
loved her.
Yeah, me too. I think that um, I think that she, I think like that scene with her and Bruce in the museum was
Mhm.
just awesome. Um, you know, where he says, you know, I've seen that through that Babe in the Woods act or whatever he says, and you've never met someone. No, he said like I've met a million girls like something like that, a million girls like you, and she says, I don't think you've met anyone like me, and it's just great, and that dress is just a showstopper. Um, I I think in some ways, even though I like the other Wonder Woman movies, especially the first one, that I think that in some ways this is like some of her best Diana Prince stuff because it's just a little more coy, a little more even like when she sees the picture on the computer, like seeing that panic, you know, there was a lot of things she was doing that was very subtle that really worked for me, especially from someone who was sort of an inexperienced actor at that point.
Which is interesting because I thought that for an actress that I hardly knew, and from just like a few action movies or whatever, I thought she did a magnificent performance in this movie.
Yeah.
Really delivered. She wasn't just, I don't know, she just really, um, give me 2 seconds. I need to reply to something here. Something just happened here. I really need to.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna take over just for a bit. I
Yeah.
think that one thing that I was a little bit because I never seen her before. I never watched was it the Fast and Furious movies where she
I
was in
see.
one of.
Oh, I can recommend actually just for stupid entertainment, go watch the Fast and the Furious movies where she's in,
Mm-hmm.
because she is really a scene stealer. She really does very well. It's not a it's she's nowhere near the level of performing that she does for Wonder Woman, and that is not her fault. That is she's still getting used to the industry. I think she started as a model, right? Didn't she?
Yeah, she was like Miss Israel or something, wasn't
I
she?
think like so she's still finding her feet and developing, but she already does so many wonderful little scenes there. She has so many wonderful little moments, and for me, it's. I know that a lot of people gave what's her face Brie Larson a lot of flake for like Captain Marvel. I
Mm-hmm.
actually really like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. This might sound a bit weird. Brie Larson as a person has a sort of a she has a I don't give a fuck about what people think of me attitude, and okay, this is who I am, and this is this is what I do, and fuck what people think, and she brings that to Captain Marvel. And people gave her a little bit of flake, like she did Endgame before she did Captain Marvel. She filmed that, so she had to play just like Gal Gadot did. She had to play an established character that has background before the background was really completely developed in her own movie. They were writing it, of course. They had some idea, but it wasn't really there yet. And
Yeah,
that's why I.
I also
Sorry?
think that I also think that they were careful to make sure that they didn't develop anything for her that they would have to. I mean, actually, they did make one little weird thing. I mean, but
Wait,
I,
who
I'm
are we
talking.
talking about right now?
No, I'm talking about Gal Gadot. Like they were kind of careful at how they portrayed her in this one. They kind of made sure that Patty would have as much control as possible outside of the casting, because obviously she
Yeah.
was cast. Out, yeah, I saw that. Good comment. Um,
Hey, do you know? Quick joke in between. Quick joke in between. Do you know what it's? Do you know what it's called when you speak multiple languages very well and you can't form sentences in any of them? Bilingual.
oh,
I, am sorry.
fair enough.
I had to do it. I can see how that would be difficult. It's a good take, by the way. By the way, we can get on the multilingual thing in a bit. But yeah, you were
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. No, well, actually, the point I was actually trying to make originally, because I didn't know where that was a weird train I was going on. Is when she was cast, I said I didn't know who she was. I was expecting them to cast someone a little more. I mean, for lack of better, like something more Gina Carano like.
Who?
Gina Carano. She's in Mandalorian. She's in
Oh,
Deadpool.
Yeah, oh God, I have issues here because
I have issues with her personally. She's an idiot.
yeah, I love her work on Deadpool. I love her work on Mandalorian.
Hmm.
I have to, by the way, admit, I'm going to be very honest here. I can separate the two. I think she is one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen. She is so
Oh,
fucking beautiful. I
interesting.
think
Okay.
so. I think she is. But as a person,
Oh, she's trash. Yeah.
she's trash.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's just the things that she said and done. But I do see where people think that she is more of the Amazon.
Yeah.
Um,
I was just expecting someone like thicker, like where Gal Gadot is like more like lithe and kind of like dainty is the wrong word, but because um, but she's definitely like her figure is much more like slender, you know. So and I don't have an issue. I think she did great in the role. I don't think that she came off like she came off powerful. So like
mhm.
which is the most important thing. But when she was cast, I was like, interesting. I didn't know who she was. You know,
Me neither.
I know. I forget who they originally cast her as the role in Justice League Mortal. It was an older movie that got canceled, but
Mhm.
it's sort of a more like more of a a more stout woman, so to speak. And they even say like that Gina Carano's is stout even because if you see her in person, she's actually not like super thick. But
No.
when you against skinny people, she
Yeah.
seems she seems thicker.
Yeah, I know what
But what Gal Gadot was able to do in the role is she came off powerful. She did it didn't matter that she wasn't muscle bound or just like built like a brick shithouse. Like she carried the power um
so
in her acting.
she did, but if you really look at her physique, so people think when they think about strong, powerful physique, especially when it comes to men, they think, for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger. They think the strong man. That is basically a completely useless body when it comes to wanting to be a warrior.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I get it.
if you look at the most, who is basically when it comes to all of the actors out there who has the physique of an actual warrior. If you want to think about warrior in between brackets, like what we think would be blah blah blah, who can do all the athletic stuff and well, it's Jason Statham. Because
Oh,
if you see him in like clothing in a suit, you're like, oh yeah, you're a dude, you're a guy. You look normal, and then he takes the shirt off, and you're like, every muscle is directed towards action, to being able
yeah,
to respond fast, quick, and powerfully.
yeah,
And that is what Gal Gadot did with her body as well.
yeah.
She
I it wasn't like it was only like it's sort of what you think of Wonder Woman as being that's more of a a because that's how comic book that's how they draw her. They
Mhm.
is a more of a thicker kind of a character. Now, thick is wrong. I keep saying that word. What I'm saying it was more less
Wait,
less
wait,
slender. Go
wait.
ahead. Yeah, I don't think that's the word I'm going for, but maybe that it just she's definitely I don't know. It I don't have an issue with the casting. Is kind of what I'm getting at. I was just confused at first, and then I was
Mhm.
surprised at how good she was. I was at how like confident she
Yeah,
was. You know
yeah.
what I
She
mean?
from the moment she appears as Wonder Woman,
Oh yeah.
not as Diane, but as Wonder Woman
Mhm.
in Batman versus Superman,
Mhm.
and you hear that,
Yep.
she owns it. She's there. She basically, I mean, I wish I could have seen the casting. I wish I could have
Mhm.
been there like a fly on the wall because I have this sort of weird thing in my mind that Gal Gadot basically walked in thinking, not thinking, I'm going to try and get this part. I have this thing in my head where she just basically walked in and sat there and basically to herself said, I'm Wonder Woman.
I think what ended up happening is she was cast as Feora in Man of Steel, and then she had to give up the part because she had been pregnant. And I think that Zack Snyder, I think he cast her based on her tryout for Feyora. I'm pretty sure. I'm like
Could
75%
be.
sure on that.
This happens sometimes. This happens sometimes when
Oh
actors
yeah.
walk in. Did you know that? Did you know that? For as far as I know, by the way, Tom Hiddleston auditioned for the role of Thor.
Oh, interesting.
And there's
Okay.
actually footage. You can find it, footage on YouTube of his casting tapes and whatever.
Okay.
And if I recall correctly, Google this because I can be completely wrong because I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I could be completely wrong. But from what I gathered, they basically said like, okay, but could you come back in and read for Loki? Because we like what you do. We don't like what you did for Thor, but we like what you do. Could you come back in and read for that part?
Yep.
I think that's
I
kind of
believe
what
it.
happened.
I believe it. I know.
Yeah.
For people that watch Buffy like I do, and you did,
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
is Sarah Michelle Gellar. She auditioned for Cordelia, not for.
really?
Yep, not for Buffy. Because that's the character she played basically before. In
Yeah.
like I don't know what it was, other shit like All My Children or whatever. She played that
Yeah.
bitchy type character. Um, Charisma Carpenter auditioned for Buffy, and so did Julie
Okay.
Benz. So did Julie
Who?
Benz and Julie Benz, Darla.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so they multiple characters had actors had auditioned, and they got roles on the show other than the ones that they had auditioned for.
Are you by any chance a Star Trek fan?
A little bit. I was a fan as a kid.
Have you ever seen Star Trek Voyager?
I'm familiar with the show. I
Okay.
didn't watch it a lot.
It's the same thing because one of the actors actually auditioned for one part, and they were
Okay.
like, "Could you like the same story?" They were like, he auditioned for a part, and they were like, "Could you would you mind doing this? Could you read this?"
Hmm.
And they were like, "No, you work much better for this part. Could you?"
Hmm.
And I think that, by the way, also that's what you do as a casting director.
Yep.
Um, before we go on to whole different shows, by the way, I quickly wanted to go on one of the biggest things about Batman versus Superman.
Hmm.
And that is a thing that a lot of people still talk about. And I don't know where you stand. I'm very curious.
Hmm.
Ben Affleck,
Uh, awesome. Great
a
Bruce Wayne.
a,
Great Batman.
a magnificent Bruce Wayne and a
Hmm.
fantastic Batman.
Hmm.
He is definitely like I was a huge Christian Bale fan, and I still
Uh-huh.
am.
Yep.
But Ben Affleck, I still think it's such a pity what happened to him after all of these movies and how the Justice League shit show fucked him over and the entire things that happened behind the screen for the Batman, and because he was going to come back as the Batman,
Hmm.
and that he relapsed back into alcoholism and everything.
Hmm.
So I understand that he had to walk away,
Hmm.
and I'm still glad that we're going to see him again in the Flash movie because his performance as everything he what he did as Batman
Hmm.
in that suit, what I still think is the best Batman suit we ever got on screen,
Yep.
and his performance in there, the way he owned everything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. No, I love it. I was watching a little bit of BVS this morning after we talked, and man, he's just so awesome. I mean, just in everything, like just right at the very beginning of the movie when Metropolis is just falling apart, and the building starts to go down with his own building, the Wayne building, and you see him run right into the smoke and the debris, and like that is just who Bruce is, and I like that this is sort of a fallen Bruce post that
Mhm.
scene. Like you see him get up, and there's a bottle of wine next to his bed, and there's a woman
Yeah,
under the sheets, and
and
it's just this sort of the nuanced performance.
thank you. I was going to say the same thing because he has one moment where he explodes when he's talking to Alfred about if there's only one chance that we're wrong,
Oh yeah, oh
and
yeah.
that Superman is a villain, and that is you dropped for a second there. That's that little explosion, that little burst of and then you start to realize the magnificent performance Ben Affleck gave as this completely, whereas Bruce Wayne and as Batman, he has everything around him and he pulls it all inside and he keeps it there. And he's always tight, he's always stressed, he's always wound, he's always anxious, he's always afraid, he's always ready, and he always keeps it down. And then at that one moment, and I thought that showed that this is a magnificent. Yeah.
He's awesome. I remember, and Sean could confirm this, when they cast him in the role. Like, I mean, everyone was shocked, but I know there's a lot of like, what the hell is this bullshit? And early on, when Nerd Sense was a movie podcast before we now it's a beer review show. When it was a movie podcast, we were like, I was in full support. But I've been a fan of Affleck for years, you know, and I liked him even as Daredevil. People shit on that. I thought it was good,
I thought Daredevil was.
especially the director's cut.
I love you.
I know.
I love you. I mean, come on. Can we just please appreciate? Can we just believe that there's? I think Daredevil is underrated. The movie.
Yeah, me too.
I think he did great in that movie as well. I think he did a great performance. There's this one lovely little line in Daredevil where he beats up the villain, a villain, a hoodlum, a whatever you want to call it, and then there's a little kid there. And then that is the moment where he realizes, where he starts to wonder what he's doing, and he's just standing there, you know, muttering to himself, "I'm not the bad guy."
Yep.
And he does all of these.
I saw the movie when I was living in Hawaii. I had I bought the director's cut on DVD back before Blu-rays, you know, and
DVDs, kids, remember DVDs. We used to actually need to buy things. They were round discs. They were this thick. We need to put them in a device so we could watch a movie. This is something that us old people needed to do back in the day.
Even older ones used to have big cartridge tapes, you know.
I remember my first VHS player.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, I remember when I finally watched the movie. It was like really late at night, 4 a.m, something like that. But in Hawaii, it's sort of the distance from here to Hawaii is similar from here to you. So I texted Sean at like 5 a.m for me, and it was like 11 where he was in the morning. So he's awake, and I said, "Hey, why do people shit on Daredevil?" Because I just finally watched it. And he says, "Oh, because it's, you know, not that great." And I said, "Oh, I just watched the director's cut." He says, "Oh yeah, well that's better than Spider-Man." I remember him telling me that. He texted me, "Oh yeah, well that's better than Spider-Man," and I agreed. I really liked that.
And
But
please,
go ahead.
yeah. Oh,
No,
you
go ahead.
first.
No, I hadn't seen the theatrical cut till way later. For me, it was always the director's cut that I'd seen.
I've seen both. I have both on DVD. I should really rewatch that movie because I also really loved what's his face as Kingpin in that movie.
Oh, he's so good. Michael Clark Duncan. Yeah, he's so good.
I need to. Michael, yeah, and by the way, let's not forget, I'm Bullseye. There's a fun blooper. If you watch the DVD, there's a fun blooper where Colin Farrell plays is Irish, and he plays an Irish character in this movie, and he's doing a scene and he's talking American, and then he's just all flabbergasted because he's like, "Wait, what? I forgot. I'm Irish. I can be Irish in this movie."
Oh, nice.
That's lovely to see. Should we do a few comments?
Yeah, let's do it.
When I watched the ultimate DCEU film Wonder Woman 1984, I was planning to go to the supermarket and buy Ceres beer. It was less painful. Questionable director, narrative, the finish wasn't there. I can't comment here because I haven't seen that movie. So I'm going to have to leave this to you, but don't spoil it too much. I know a few things, but that's okay. But don't spoil it too much. But
it was okay. For me, it was a little bit like it was like sort of like an improved version of like Superman 3. It was a little bit comical. It had a little bit more, a little less serious of a movie for the most part. I mean, it wasn't my favorite of the DCEU films. It's maybe mid tier, but I didn't love it. It was fine.
Did it?
It was good.
Did it? Did it? Does it complement the original one, the first one?
Not really. They feel like very different movies. It was gonna be hard to compliment other than Chris Pine stuff because it doesn't take place directly after. It takes place like I don't know, like 1918 to 84.
Yeah, that's
Like
one of the biggest. Yeah,
66 years later.
that's one of the biggest complaints I've heard about this movie is that, and I understand the criticism that people were a bit pissed off that, come on, Diane, it's been 66 years and you're still pining for this guy that you knew for a little while, And I know it's harsh to say that, but I do understand that criticism. But I need to see the movie to really form my own opinion about it. So I'm not going to. This is just from what I have from hearsay, and but I have heard more. I'm not going to say negative, really, but people being less enthusiastic about it.
Well, I think it's I think you'll like it at least enough. It's a you'll like Barbara Minerva a lot. I think she did a good job. Kristen Wiig.
I'm curious about that performance because I do like her as an actress. I'm curious what she can pull off here. Sometimes I wonder if they made the film just because they had to do lots of money. This is a thing with they sometimes do. I know it sucks, but they sometimes do. They sometimes are just simply required to make a movie, and especially within a certain time frame. Like they need to make the movie. They need to make a sequel within 2 or 3 years, to keep the momentum going. And if you don't have a good idea, if you don't have a good story, I can't comment on anything because I haven't seen it yet. So I'm gonna have to leave that to you, Mike. If that,
I don't know what movie he's talking about. If it's specifically Wonder Woman, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I think that Patty Jenkins had it's the movie she wanted to make. I don't know.
I don't know. Don't know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll reserve judgment for when I've seen it. That's because Jason Statham comes from a martial art background prior to him becoming an established actor. True, I know, but still, it does show that is basically.
He was also a competitive swimmer. He has a swimmer's body, that very kind of super toned. Yeah.
He looks amazing. The dude looks amazing. Like, no comment.
Marry him already, Jesus.
I will, dude. Trust me. Joe Gansel, that's probably a very accurate statement, Sergio Foscato. I don't know which comment he means, but I'm thinking he's talking about this one, or maybe this one.
Probably that one.
But yeah. The biggest advantage of hiring Ben Affleck is also the biggest disadvantage of hiring Ben Affleck. It's his demons. It adds to the character, but makes him unreliable. Such a busy filming schedule. I think. Well, by the way, have you seen the latest pictures of Ben Affleck? That makes me sound like I'm some sort of gossipy person. I have a coworker who is very much into movies like I am, and she showed me these pictures because she follows some stuff, and she's like, "Have you seen this?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He is completely Botoxed up at the moment. He looks scary as fuck right now. He looks like he's the.
Oh, I've not seen him.
You should Google that. But yeah, he has his demons, but I think his demons, he got them under control. He was okay with his demons, and they were just part of who he was. But then everything that happened during Justice League and the shitstorm working towards his own movie apparently was just horrific, from what I understood.
I mean, his marriage is falling apart. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily is because of the movies. It's just life is life. I don't want to comment on someone's personal life totally.
No,
because we're not there for all the factors.
No, I know. I'm just talking about what I from what I recall, that things he said himself, like the experiences on Justice League were not cool. I think he has said that himself, and that was one of the reasons why things went crash. And like you said, his personal life as well, of course. Yeah. Daredevil was his best movie ever done, in my opinion. No. That would be anything he ever did with Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I like Chasing Amy and Dogma, but I like Daredevil though. I wouldn't argue that point.
Oh, agreed. Daredevil is amazing, but like you said, Dogma, Chasing Amy was amazing. Yeah. So anyway, we are about an hour and a half in. I think I want to get something to drink in a little bit. What are we gonna do? Do we have anything left to say about Batman versus Superman? Do we want to go to the next movie?
Doomsday.
Doomsday. Ooh, you know what? For that, I'm quickly going to get something to drink.
Okay.
I'm going to get some water, and I'm going to get just a lager. I'm just going to get a simple lager. So I'll be right back. You go entertain the crowds, and then we can talk about Doomsday, because I'm not a comic book reader, not as much as you are anyway, but I know that there are some interesting things to say about Doomsday. I'll be right back.
Okay. Actually, I want to make a few comments. Actually, going to go back to this one here that Mercy Beers put up here. Because Jason Statham comes from a martial arts background. That's very true. I also think, to go back to my Gina Carano comment, so does she. She's a former Strike Force bantamweight, I believe, world champion. She was like a Thai kickboxer. I mean, I don't know how much experience she had in actual Thai boxing, but that was her background. And I think she ended up retiring. She was at 8-1, I think, or 7-1. Not a super long career, but for sure, like I'm a huge mixed martial arts fan, and except for like say a guy like Alistair Overeem, most of the guys aren't built like what's the word I use, the phrase, brick shit houses. These guys are all like legitimate martial artists, and they definitely more like have they're definitely not built like bodybuilders, just to make a point, so to speak. But either way, he is right about Statham, though.
Did you miss me?
Yes.
What were you talking about?
No, I brought up the Jason Statham thing with his figure, so to speak, and but I was saying how like I was I'm a big mixed martial arts fan, and but I did bring up the Gina Carano thing again, and the fact that like she was a legitimate martial artist. She's a former Strike Force mixed martial arts champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was sort of early days of women's mixed martial arts, so she ended up getting the brakes beat off her by a Cyborg. But it's just what I'm saying is, even though she was a little on the thicker side now, she was definitely a legitimate like Thai kickboxer style fighter.
There are many very positive things you can say about her, but
not her personal life. Yeah.
No, exactly. So that's just
yeah. Actually, Thomas, let me step away as well. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna go for this comment for a bit. Oh wow, there's massive peer review. Oh yeah, he did the license. Oh, crap, I keep forgetting that. Settings. General. Banners. Brand. Yeah, we'll just go for this one. Anyway, yeah, Matt was the last one to actually do a live stream. So I'm going to go in on this one, Joe, because Mike is going to come back. Other than Batman, is your favorite comic superhero? So for me personally, this is a difficult one because I haven't read many comics because a lot of the comics that come out in America aren't released in the Netherlands. I like Spider-Man. I used to like Spider-Man. I love the X-Men. I have a soft spot for the MCU version of Tony Stark, the movie version, and that's because the Tony Stark character has anxiety. He has anxiety, and that's something I can relate to. And it was very cool for me to see a superhero who suffers from general fear disorder, which led to anxiety. He has OCDs. He has like things like that. And that always was very interesting to me. Let's see, who else is there from the comics? Cool, you can comment now because Mike asked the question. Who, other than Batman, is your favorite comic superhero?
Interesting. As a kid, I really loved the X-Men. I had a bunch of comics. They were hard to read because I didn't know a lot. Like they were like big arcs, and I'd have an issue from the middle of an arc, and I wouldn't kind of
Mhm.
understand. But I like the look of those characters. I liked Wolverine, obviously, Cyclops, Storm, Beast, Iceman,
I loved
Jean Grey.
what's his face, Gambit.
Oh, Gambit, yeah, Gambit's awesome. Yep,
Gambit was cool. I
yep.
remember those. Yeah, I remember Gambit was awesome. I know a lot of people will very quickly. Joe Gansel said Wolverine. I do really much love Wolverine. I
Mhm.
just think he's also a bit of a. Uh, I'm not going to say overrated, but overused superhero.
A little bit, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the focus was so much on, you know, Wolverine a lot of the times that it sort of felt like there's more to the team than just,
Yeah, Cyclops got the shaft in those movies big time.
oh, come on.
Yeah,
Cyclops was so cool.
yeah, I like him, and I like James Marsden too. I just don't think
Mm.
they didn't do a great job with that character in general in those. Um, I mean, he played the part like stoic, kind of. It wasn't that he didn't portray him wrong. I just think that he needed a bigger part of the stories than they gave him. But yeah, like I don't know much about what they've done with X-Men the last, decade or so, or even 20 years, I guess. But like, I liked say the early 90s because that's when I was 8, 9 years old.
Mhm.
That was my era of sort of like. I mean, as a kid, I liked the Power Rangers, and I mean, I was a kid, right? You
Go,
know,
go, Power Rangers. You mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Sorry, still
so like
have.
the X-Men being like a team, you didn't need to have like the Justice League. It was the X-Men, it was you didn't need it wasn't a team up, they were already a team. So I was a big fan of that. I like those characters a lot. I like the villains too, like even ones that you don't see in movies, like Sauron. I liked him. I liked Apocalypse. I wish they did a better job of him in the movie. I like Doctor
Yeah.
Doom. Even though he was maybe more famous as a Fantastic Four villain, he was definitely an X-Men villain as well.
That's actually something that we could do a live stream about. Have you noticed how in so many of these movies, the superheroes are tackled amazingly well, and the villains that work fantastically well in the comics usually don't work so well on screen?
It's I think it's less. I mean, I don't know why they screw up Doctor Doom so much, but
Yeah.
they fucked him
Apocalypse.
up bad. Or Apocalypse, yeah.
Apocalypse.
Well,
Uh,
Apocalypse is hard to do. It'd be easier now. I mean, there's no excuse for screwing him up when they did. Um,
mm,
and they had
I,
such a good actor too. I like Oscar Isaac's one of my favorite actors. You know.
I am so curious about June. I really want to see him as the Duke Leto. I am so curious about that movie. But before we go into so many segues, you wanted to mention
Doomsday.
Duke.
Yeah. Sorry. I should have muted my. Sorry, I mute this. Yeah, Doomsday was an interesting choice for that the movie. I was I was surprised they went there so quick.
Why?
Because I thought that they would save Doomsday for a later movie, for a later Superman movie. I didn't know they're gonna go and murder him at the end of the movie. you know. But at the same time, I feel like you like whenever you see a movie, it's like, oh, why didn't they do that villain? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
they're waiting for the sequel. It's like, yeah, how about they just throw the dick on the table now and say, fuck it, deal with it. And I think it was an interesting take. It wasn't, it's not like Doomsday is a well developed character either. He's just a force of nature. It wasn't. Um, I think because he's a character that kills Superman. He's a very famous character, but it's not like there's a whole bunch of awesome Doomsday stories. He's he's not Lex Luthor. Um, he's not that type of a character. He's
He's a
just
force of,
a
he's a force of nature.
yeah,
He's an entity. He's not so much a character. He's an entity.
yeah. So I think it was probably a good choice, especially because they did end up killing Superman at the end of the movie. But I think, um, and plus, you have the Trinity going after him. It makes sense to me. But I think it was a weird, um, especially especially when later people bringing up that it looked like the cave troll from Lord of the Rings,
True.
and
True.
it's true. Like
It's true.
even
It looks horrible.
I just watched Fellowship of the Ring again the other day, and I was like, Jesus. I mean, it looks like the exact same model.
I need to start doing that, by the way. Good point. You see, like I'm not really familiar with Doomsday, as in from comics or whatever, because
Hmm.
like again, I have read my fair share of comics throughout the years, but just not that many. I always felt that the entire Doomsday edition to the movie felt like a. Do you know what I mean with like a reverse de machina? As in not that God comes from the heavens to fix the problem, but something came up to unite. We need that, like they felt like we need something that unites the two uh, pro slash antagonists. Because basically, if you look at the movie from a distance, you could say that both Batman and Superman are both antagonists and protagonists in this movie, and that they needed something to team up for, be
Yeah.
united against.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they were like, "What is the biggest thing that we could do?" And they already had something. They had Lex Luthor,
Yeah, but Lex Luthor wasn't a physical threat.
maybe, but they could. There were so many things that they could have done with Lex Luthor that didn't involve some sort of creature. It was
Yeah,
all about, at the end. It was all about, we need a slave fest. We need a spectacle. We need something that is insanely over the top. And there were different solutions. There were other things to do. They already,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry.
yeah. But I also think that they wanted the story they were trying to tell. At least Zack Snyder was trying to tell was they wanted to have they wanted to kill off Superman as well.
Mhm.
So they needed something that would believably kill him off, and why not the one that everyone knows killed him? If it was something else, maybe people wouldn't buy it so much. Um, I don't think they expected this movie to be a kind of get a critical drubbing. So I think that they just put all the big cards on the table, you know,
Mhm.
and it makes sense because like Doomsday's just not he's not going to be a villain that you're going to develop over a film because he just wasn't. He's just like I said, it's a force of nature. It wasn't a
Agreed.
character. It wasn't a character that you're going to sit there and like and have all this great backstory. He's just there. He just and this is different because Doomsday originally was like a Kryptonian kind of a artifact. It came from a spaceship and everything in the comics. Um,
It sort of worked towards that a little bit, but
no, yeah, no, a little bit, but what I mean is like this wasn't like a Kryptonian. I mean, yeah,
mm,
this was definitely a take on the character, but
agreed.
he's also he displays powers that he doesn't have in the comics either. Which I guess it doesn't matter because it said it's just not a character that you are gonna like have like sympathy for. It's not a character that you're gonna like develop. It sort of makes sense that you just had this big hulking beast, and it's just gonna be Doomsday. It's um and plus you needed something that would believably kill Superman.
I'm going to quickly comment on this. Joe, we're not going into this right now because there's a good reason why the stream is called Part 1. We will get onto Aquaman in Part 2. Adam, we're going to get into this soon as well. We're going to comment on that in a bit. Here's an interesting take then. We talked about earlier that the movie that we got made it clear in the first hour already. If you look at the director's edition, which is 3 hours, in the first hour, it's already very clear someone will die. Was it necessary for Superman to die in this movie? Could they have made a movie? Was it necessary? If you let me rephrase that. When they said we're going to do Batman versus Superman,
Uh-huh.
was it necessary that one of them dies?
No. it was necessary. Um, it was necessary to get Bruce back on track.
Mm-hmm.
It was necessary, presumably, to get to Zack Snyder's vision of Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
But as like a film, you don't have to have someone die at the end of a Batman Superman movie. No, of course not.
Exactly. That's because I'm like, again, because of my limited knowledge of the comics, I'm not sure. There have been several Batman versus Superman comics, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, within reason. I mean, they don't always get along. No. But this type of story, I mean, they battle the fuck out of each other with Batman's mech suit and everything in Dark Knight
Mm.
Returns.
Yeah,
And Batman
I
wins.
love.
You know, as
I still love that, by the way. I loved the mech suit. I have to say that entire fight sequence is a highlight. Is just so well done. Another bonus for this movie, by the way, the action sequence. A few of them, some of the Batmobile chase scenes were a bit dodgy. The special effects looked a bit cheapish. Love the Batmobile in this movie, by the way.
me too.
But the action sequences in this movie were awesome. I just have to quickly point that out. Yeah. Let's see. Nearly 2 hours in. Anything left to say about Batman versus Superman?
Probably not. I mean, these are this is just almost like abstract thoughts. I'm not. We're not covering these things like in a real like beat by beat
So,
way.
chronologically speaking,
Suicide
we
Squad's
would
next.
Suicide Squad. Do you want to get into Suicide Squad?
I want to.
Because I just watched that one spread over 2 days. Good sir.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a movie that I enjoy. I think it's a little bit problematic. The villain was a little bit problematic. It just ends up sort of being people yelling at a lady with trash in the sky or above her,
Mm-hmm.
in a circle. Um,
Yep.
but I like the cast a lot. I thought a lot of the characterizations was really cool. When you find out what the original intent was, which was like those rock kind of putty type monsters. They're originally supposed to be parademons, and they were supposed to be at the end. It was supposed to be Steppenwolf, I think. It
Oh,
wasn't.
really?
Yeah, it was something like that, or
Okay,
it,
I should check
anyway,
out the. If after this, I'm going to check out the IMDb page for this movie. I'm going to check out the trivia. Do you ever do that?
yeah. Some of those things aren't really true. You just look up.
Oh no, but it's,
You could also look up David Ayer talking about it. It's not like yeah. These are. It's not like hard to find stuff. Um, that stuff was cut early. It wasn't like the movie got changed. That didn't get changed in the middle of filming, but like early scripts, those types of things were cut because they wanted that to lead to Justice League in a way.
I would like to, by the way, quickly point out when we're talking about this movie, it's very important that people understand. I have not seen the extended director's edition. So it might very well be that the version that you've seen, the extended edition, that might be a lot better than the one that I've seen, because I only know the theatrical cut.
It's not hugely different. The biggest thing is they've added a couple more Joker scenes. That's it.
Okay, good. Interesting take on the Joker, by the way. No, I hate this Joker vile version. I hate it for many reasons. There is one interesting scene, and you need to look this back up, where he's laying on the ground and he's laughing, and he's got all the knives and weaponry spread around. Have you noticed if you look at that circle, everything spread around him?
Mm-hmm.
There's baby clothing.
Oh, I never noticed.
Go check it out. It is so fucking disturbing that between all the weaponry in that circle around him everywhere, there's baby clothing, like a little baby jumper and everything like that.
Huh. I don't
That
really.
is very fucking disturbing. Look up that screenshot. If you see that, that is pretty messed up. I will say that I think Suicide Squad is hot garbage.
That's funny.
It's entertaining. for the boom boom and the pow pow and the fight, and Margot Robbie, Margot
Margot.
Robbie, and Will Smith are both. I love them both in this movie. I think they did incredibly well, and really both were scene stealers. I know that everybody loves. I forgot her face. What's the actress name who played Amanda Waller?
Um,
I think she's a fantastic actress, by the way. I forgot her name. She's an amazing actress. Everybody loves her in this movie. I think she's highly overrated in this movie. I think that there's no charisma, no everything she usually does, everything she oozes is lost in this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis, thank you. Viola Davis is amazing. In this movie, I felt she was, I don't know, everything about this.
I thought she was. I thought she was good. She played Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller is not a nice person.
No.
You know. Actually, another thing too in the extended cut, I think, is the bar scene's different. The bar scene it's different in that one as well. A little longer. It makes more sense. I didn't think it was hot garbage. I think it's problematic. But I think that a lot of the performances sort of lift lifted above its issues, I guess.
Mhm.
And I actually don't even think it's even. I just don't think that they shouldn't have gone with Enchantress as the villain.
No, that made no
You know,
sense.
no, and the thing that makes it problematic for me is not so much that it's Enchantress. Let's say I just think that Suicide Squad is for smaller problems. It's
Yeah.
not supernatural type bullshit. It's more. They're more sort of like Black Ops type operation things. But I
Not,
like.
not, yeah, exactly. That's what felt so weird here because these are all like. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds.
You all right?
Yeah.
I think that Will Smith was like really, really good as a as Deadshot. It's just a real bastard, I I I I love that scene with when he gets captured by Batman at the very beginning.
Mhm.
I like I love that scene where he's on the phone with the guy and has someone in his crosshairs on the roof. Uh, you know,
And still at the end, he's still not because people. He is the definition of the anti-hero almost because he does the right things, and even at the end of the movie, he's still a bit of a dick because he's teaching his daughter mathematics by talking about assassination. You
well,
know, he
he
is
wasn't.
not.
She was asking him.
Well, yeah, of course, but he went with it though, and he
I
started
know.
explaining more and go like, yeah, but you need to take in like wind, speed, and wind direction, and the weight of the bullet, and it's like, dude, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
Oh
no,
yeah.
no, 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 no. He's an asshole,
Oh yeah.
and that's what I liked about this movie, and I mean, it just, and this is again, we talked about this earlier, the biggest flaw in the DCEU movies for me are the editors. And I think this is a big thing where the studios have more control over the movie, the end product, than the director does. And they say, we want certain things. And they ultimately have control over the editors. And this is what
That
you.
that
This
was
is
certainly the case in this movie. That was certainly the case in this one.
absolutely, yeah, and the way the scenes cut and how you're suddenly go from there to there, and then this, and then such, and basically the entire movie is this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, a thing happens, another thing happens, it goes, it just
Yeah.
goes chop 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 chop.
Yeah. I think that what they ended up having to do was because um they had to try to introduce a whole bunch of characters in a very short amount of time. It
Mhm.
ends up being a little bit like watching a montage um, in their
Mhm.
like during the first act. I think once they're on the ground in where the fuck they are, I forget the name of that city. But what,
Midwest, mid city, mid bay. I don't know, something like
yeah,
that.
middle something, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Once it's there, to me, it goes pretty good. I think, um, I think that, um, like the stuff with the team itself was really really fun. Like where Margot is sort of trying to antagonize a little bit. What's his name? Boomerang, and like that stuff was fun. And
Great little throwback in Birds of Prey, by the way. I watched Birds of Prey before I came online. I wanted to see that one.
the picture on the wall.
Yeah, it's like, I know this guy.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and um, like I don't know. As a team, I thought all this stuff as a group worked for me. It was really fun. It was kind of a joy to watch those guys all be gleefully shitty, especially considering like uh like Jai Courtney.
Mm.
He's not really like playing villainous characters usually. You know, Will Smith generally plays heroes.
Hmm.
He plays some complicated characters, but he's generally like a good guy within reason, and he's just
Hmm.
a real fucking bastard. Margot Robbie, I don't know much of her stuff other than like Wolf of Wall Street and stuff.
I haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street.
That was a movie that kind of put her on
Yeah.
the big times. But um, like these people playing joyously shitty characters was kind of fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think um, I like Jared Leto's Joker. I know you said you don't like it. I think it's awesome. I think he's just a real piece of shit, and that's the Joker.
I think.
And good,
Yeah. No. No. You go first. Sorry. Sorry.
yeah, he's a real piece of shit. He's the way he's portrayed in this one is a little bit like he was in the Brian Azzarello Joker comic,
Hmm.
which is, and actually some of the characters from that book end up in this movie, which is interesting. But he's uh, like really unhinged in ways that the Heath Ledger version was supposed to be, but really kind of wasn't. Where like, oh, I'm like a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do if I caught it. I introduced chaos, but really, he's the most meticulously planned out fucking plans. Anyway, this one is a little more like deranged. The the
It's
tattoos
a.
on the face weren't my jam, but it's
No.
not the first time we've seen a tatted up Joker. And
Yeah. I think I probably need to see that director's edition to maybe appreciate his character a bit more. My problem with this version of the Joker has, first of all, I did not like the execution personally. That's true.
okay,
What I also did not like is I have a problem with how the internet is in love with, find yourself a love like the Joker and Harley.
oh, it's so gross, so gross.
Please don't. Please do not find yourself a love like that. This is one of the most abusive, manipulative,
Oh yeah,
um, destructive relationships ever,
oh yeah.
and people are glorifying this love between these two, where she
No,
is basically just manipulated from the get go by one of the most vile creatures ever out there. And I
yeah,
find that horrifying. And maybe I'm projecting a lot of that onto his Joker, and not
yeah,
liking it because I am disgusted by this glorification of abuse in a
yeah.
relationship.
I think
Yeah,
I think um that's fair. I mean, like, but that's Harley's character is that manipulated type of. Wow. Well,
sure
that's
thing,
because
dude.
that's because
Thanks,
Kyle's
Ryan.
wrong.
No,
Wow.
thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, but you know, it's
Well,
Sorry.
I think that it's um yeah, wow. I think that it's a a they took a weird swing with that character in this one.
Hmm.
Um, but just when people say, "Oh, that's not Joker," and then we're like, "Well, explain to me how it's not Joker." It's like, well, like he's got tattoos on his face. Okay, well, that's visually it's a character that um has had a lot of different interpretations over the years, but as
Yep.
far as like who Joker is being just completely um deranged, sort of, this one's a little bit like mobby, kind of like a little bit like uh like a crime boss. That's who Joker is. When he just often kills Common's characters, shoots him. Like that is who he was, especially in like that Brian Azzarello Joker comic. It's like a graphic novel.
Okay. Wait, is that the one with the face off and everything?
No, that's way later. No,
Okay.
Brian Azzarello comic was around like 2008. Um, if No Hype wants to climb on, he can get in on this one. I don't mind.
Yeah, man, dude. Do you want me to send? Actually, I don't even think I need to send him the link. I think he can just go because we're all
If he
logged in.
if he wants to, he can jump in.
Yeah, man, dude. If you want to, you can find this. You can go to the StreamYard. If you feel like joining us for a little bit, go for it, dude.
Um,
But yeah. See, first off, we talked about this earlier about people saying this is not the Joker. So first of
mhm.
all, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
Because people are going like, this isn't Batman, this isn't Super. The origin stories, the comics have been rebooted so often.
oh yeah,
Origin stories change,
oh
the
yeah.
way the characters work. Some Batmans have been grittier and darker. Others have been more comic, and fun and lighthearted. There have been
Mhm.
so many different incarnations of all of the heroes. It's bullshit to say that's not the Joker. If you're going like that, just go away. Just go away and don't be so childish. It is not your Joker.
Yeah,
That's different. You can say that this is not the Joker I appreciate. That's different. And if you approach the subject like that, I'm cool.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of people their version of Joker is like that Mark Hamill animated series one, or else they do
Genius.
their. Yeah, I guess the performance is genius. The character is written extremely um inconsistently,
Oh
which is
yeah.
actually Joker like, I guess, to be fair. Um, I think I pushed back on that one because of how well loved it is, I guess. The performance is outstanding, to be fair.
Mhm.
And I would like to see a continuation of the series, to be fair. Also, um, but like for me, like the quintessential Joker is sort of like for me is maybe the version in The Killing Joke, like visually, that's quintessential Joker for me. Um, but that's just for me, I guess. Like
Yeah.
if you look at like Death of the
I was
Family,
just no death of or death in.
Death in the Family is one thing, Death of the Family is another thing.
Yeah, I know there's two different. No, I don't know. I know of the second one. I have
Yep,
not read any of those. I was going to comment on the first one, Death in the Family.
yep,
That entire going out of his mind. Well, this is basically Joker for me, where he beats that Robin, and he just loses it, and he loses complete control. And then in hindsight, he's like, "Ooh, maybe that was a bad idea." That's Joker. Like Joker just does. He does. And then
yep.
in
Agree.
hindsight, so I did like that. But sorry, you were talking about Death of the Family, and
Well, no,
that's
yeah, no, you're not wrong, but
of course I'm not. But
wow, interesting. But Death Death of the Family, like, that's the one where you talk about the Joker with the face cut off. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there's what I'm saying is throughout time there's just a million different ways to interpret the character, and to say one's wrong and one, yeah, okay, I just don't agree. You know, it's not like it's like for me, like growing up, like Jack Nicholson was Joker. Like Jack Napier character. I was 5 or 6 when I saw that movie.
Mhm.
But I didn't go and see like Heath Ledger say that's not Joker. It's like, it's a version. It works for
It
me.
is a version. I still love the fact. I still love the fact that when people were told that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, I know that people still talk about this. People were like, "That's not going to work. Heath Ledger is the Joker. That's insane." And then we heard that laugh the first time in the trailer. We didn't even see him yet. We just heard the laugh and the voice, and just people in cinema seeing that trailer for the first time, hearing that laugh, hearing that voice. People were just like, "What the hell just happened here?" And I still think, by the way, that is my favorite version of the Joker because he is so incredibly manipulative. He projects this sort of thing that he's a chameleon. He is something for everyone. He quickly reads what people think that he should be, and he adapts to that.
Yeah, I don't think that's wrong, but I also wonder like how much is that Joker as far as being so meticulous and cunning instead of being like, and it's fine because I like it too. But I will be honest and say that when I heard his cast, I was like, Jesus fuck, what's going on? And the first pictures that were leaks were really bad. I remember Sean and I talking about it, being like, "What the fuck is this?"
Scars. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was weird. It wasn't that. It was a leaked picture of him getting makeup done, but it was. If I can find a picture later, I'll send it to you because it was not promising, and I remember being like, "What the fuck," But when it came out, it was awesome. He was really really good.
For me, my interpretation, there is one line, there is one small moment in the entire movie where he gets out of character. Not Heath Ledger, but the Joker, where the Joker gets out of character and he shows his true colors just once. It's the first time we get introduced to him, not the second time. The first time we see him is in the beginning of the movie, of course, and then we really get introduced to him during when the mob bosses are all sitting together there, and he walks in, and somebody's talking about like he's crazy and everything, and he just sit there and he goes like with this one stare, "I'm not.
Yep.
I'm not." That's the one moment where we see the Joker, where they touch him. Somebody touches him.
Well, even later he says, "I'm not crazy. I'm just ahead of the curve."
And that's where, and then exactly. That's where he's playing with it. But that one moment where somebody, because that is where his vulnerability is, that he is always continuously aware of the fact, I'm losing my mind, and I don't want to. And that one moment where he's called out on it, he's nuts, he's crazy, he's insane, whatever. And then he just stands there and very cool, very deliberately. That's where we see the actual character, and the rest is just the Joker just looking around him, always aware of what's going on, who is he talking to, who do I need to be to make sure that this person is aware that I can manipulate this person, I can play this person, this person can now trust me because he's continuously altering his persona. And that's the one moment where he's himself. I'm not.
Yep. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, still not a DCEU though.
No. I do think. I do think that this is the last movie we're gonna. Suicide Squad's the last movie we can cover today. Something just kind of came up.
That's cool.
I don't.
That's cool.
I don't leave right this second, but in the next few minutes I do.
I agree. We've already been at it for over 2 hours, so
yeah. The movie itself, I think, it's not the best movie. I have a hell of a lot of fun with it. It's more popcorny for me. I do like the stuff at the beginning with the Batman scenes are really fun. I think I like Waller. I guess it didn't work for you. That's fine too. We all have our things. Um, I I liked the Katana character a lot. They didn't give her a whole lot to do, but I like the way she's portrayed. I like Rick Flag a lot.
Hmm.
Um,
Maybe I was a bit too harsh when I said hot trash. Look, it is. I think it is a very badly made movie, but it is a very
okay,
entertaining movie.
okay, that's fair.
And I mean, there are many movies out there that I will watch on a Saturday. You just called it popcorn flick. Like there are many movies I will put on a Saturday or Sunday evening. I'll grab a beer or two. I'll grab some chips. I'll grab some snacks, whatever, and I'll go watch that movie. As that kind of movie, it works fantastically. And if you take it out of its context, is it the part of a bigger universe? If you just look at it like an action movie,
Hmm.
it really isn't. It does everything that it needs to do, but you look at it differently because it's part of a whole.
Yeah, I. I mean, I don't. I try not to. I mean, I guess it. I mean, look at it any way you like. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I guess.
Mhm.
Um, I think that I do think that there's the movie stumbles a little bit getting off the ground because it is trying to do too much. I think that they didn't have to introduce the characters. I think that we could have gotten to know them as they were. He didn't have to be like, oh, this is you know, this is Boomerang and watch him get captured by the Flash. You didn't need any of that stuff. It didn't have
No.
to. You didn't need the Batman stuff. It was fun. I like having them. It's good, But the movie could have just got off the ground with Waller just collecting them and putting them on the street, and we could have got to know them throughout the movie. I think that somewhat doing montagey type stuff is a little bit lazy.
Hmm.
Even though it's fun, even though it's fun, it just as far as it getting off the ground, it does stumble a little bit. And I do think that Enchantress was a mistake as a villain. I
Yeah.
don't have an issue with Enchantress as a character. I don't even,
Oh.
um, but I do think it was a little bit not the right mission for Suicide Squad.
What I could really recommend to you is I don't know if you've seen the show. Have you watched Arrow?
Of course.
Of course. The takes on okay, they ditched the mystical katana thing, of course, but the katana
Hmm.
character in that show I think is very well done. I think the Suicide Squad does exactly what you said it should do in Arrow, because they go in for like the terrorist shit or whatever. They go in for that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They get called in for all of those, and that show is where I really appreciated Amanda Waller. I
Ah,
felt
weird.
Amanda Waller.
Interesting.
I felt Amanda Waller in that show was much more of a calculating, cold-hearted, manipulative. Well,
Maybe, but
the word.
with TV shows, you get more time to develop characters than you do in a
Of
movie.
course,
You
of
know,
course. Yeah.
I never felt like that Waller had strength. Like I think of Waller from like the animated cartoons. I mean, she's just
Mm.
like this beast. I don't mean like big woman, but she's just this
No, no, no. I know
fierce
what you mean. I
woman.
know what you mean. This is why I understand that they cast Viola Davis. Davis.
Yep,
It
Davis.
just somehow didn't work for me. But that's just
Okay.
that's the thing. Movies don't. It's okay if a movie doesn't work for you.
Yep. Yep. I said I do think the movie has its problems. I'm not obviously going to defend like some of the choices they made here, but I don't think that casting was an issue. I like most of the cast. Um, I like most of the characterizations. I just don't think that. I think that maybe they should have had Joker as the villain, something a little more down to earth.
Maybe, maybe, maybe because they just. I sometimes I feel that just they created a Joker for this movie because they were like they were aware of the fact that I think this movie was created for crowd pleasing.
Yeah.
They were aware of the fact that Harley is incredibly popular. How do you get Harley in a movie? You can't make a movie. Well, they did. They sort of did with Birds of Prey. We'll get to Birds of Prey in the next stream or the one after that. We'll see how many parts we're going to need.
Mhm.
They wanted a movie, I think, mostly because of Harley Quinn. And if you do Harley
Maybe.
Quinn, you're going to have to do the Joker, but the movie was never about the Joker, and they tried to shoehorn the Joker in a way like
Well, I think they put him in the movie in a way to introduce him to use him later. And then it ended up being a not well received take. So then they
yeah.
didn't know what to do with him.
I understand what they wanted to do, by the way. I do understand that, but yeah, it just didn't work for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Want to go through the comments we have left, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, let's do that, and then the next stream will be about the rest of the. I'm going to see where I ended. We never really touched on this. I'm not very well known with Fantastic Four, actually.
That's a tough one. I liked what's his name? I think was it what's the actor's name? That hold on. Oh yeah, Johan Griffith played Mr. Fantastic in the original Fantastic Four. Well, that's not the original, but say the 2005 or whatever it was movie. I think he'd be great in the role now. He just looks more. He looks more the part. He's more appropriately aged.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't look at Reed Richards as a young man, although maybe he might be. I don't know. I think he's more of an older dude.
I agree. He should be more of an older dude. I don't really know enough. I really can't comment on this. I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's fine. Yeah, we won't worry about it.
No. Well, we're gonna get into that. As a person in the film, it's a pretty. I don't know what that may be about Ben Affleck. I think still. Joe is talking about that Aquaman was more of a comedy than a serious film. I enjoyed Aquaman.
Okay.
But
Aquaman
we'll really get.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Go. No.
No. Aquaman was very much sort of a DC version of like a Marvel movie, kind of.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get into that more. Seeing Superman getting his ass kicked was cool. I agree. It was the best film to replicate better than the comic books, if there are any. Do you think they have to replicate the books? Oh, wow. That's a tricky one.
Well, the comics sort of they lay the groundwork. I don't. Without the comics, you don't get the TV shows and the movies. I think that you should probably try to. You don't have to stick to the stories, but you should probably stick to the spirit of them.
I agree, because Joe says I think they should attempt to follow the comics as best as they can. Just saying, I think we talked about this earlier, with so many variations in the characters themselves. Like if you want to really do like a specific storyline, I sort of understand that people say follow it exactly as it was in the comic. But look at Civil War, for example. I know you have your opinions on Civil War.
Yeah.
But Civil War from the comics is incredibly difficult to put on screen. That is like a 4-movie event.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want to do, and if you can take aspects of the comic and translate it to a movie, but the entire storyline is different, but you get the same aspect, I'm okay.
Yeah, my thing is why adapt those things directly to film when you already have a version of those. Yeah. I think it's maybe a good idea that you take pieces, or you tell the story. To me, it's better just make sure you stick to the spirit of it. Make sure you have make sure that you're not being directly contradictory as far as like a characterization.
Yeah, good point. Leto is a great actor and the worst Joker ever. I agree.
I disagree.
I know.
Completely. 100%.
But we have already actually really discussed that. I'm fine with talking about it more, but you said that you needed to go somewhere, right?
Yeah, I maybe like 3 minutes and I do gotta go.
Okay. Pretty good. Saturday Night. We talked about this. No man, version of music compared to the comics. Just talking about footage from. There's footage. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to check that out. This needs to be a Sunday thing. We're going to do this more often on Sundays. Not every Sunday, but Mike and I. And hey, if Sean and or Kyle want to join in at some point, we can definitely do that. Sounds amazing. We should definitely set that up a bit more. Hashtag Team Kyle. Agreed, Joe. Team Sean. Team Kyle. Lots of teams. Let us old guys talk nerd stuff. Old beans to me. Yeah, agreed. Haha. And Heath Ledger was the best Joker in my opinion. Just saying. Yeah, I'm divided on that. I'm not really 100% sure. He both yes and no.
Yeah, he was really good. I'm not the biggest Dark Knight fan. I think the movie's good. It's not my favorite of the Nolan movies. I think that once Heath Ledger's character is captured, the movie sort of dies on its feet. But that's because of just how magnetic that performance was. You know, it's hard to. He's not my favorite of the Jokers, but it's hard to argue. You know, he's so good.
Look, even if you don't like the character, I think it's still safe to say that the performance.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's awesome. I'm not
exactly. Oh, it's just, and then that's the thing. You know, like you can still appreciate a performance and not like a character.
Yeah. But I mean, I like the performance. I like the character.
Good.
But I mean, it's hard to say anyone's more iconic than like Mark Hamill, you know. But I don't know what my favorite Joker is. I like them all for different reasons.
Oh yeah, agreed. Especially the one with the mustache that was painted white. What was his face?
Cesar Romero. Yeah.
Fantastic. That was amazing. Just didn't want to shave off his mustache. They just
refused. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Right. Guys, we talked about 3 DCEU movies. We're definitely going to come back for more. When is a bit of a thing. Might be next Sunday, might be 2 or 3 weeks from now. It just depends on when Mike and I can. And if Sean and or Kyle want to join. So we'll make it happen. Thanks everyone for joining in the chat, voicing your opinions, and just making this one hell of a great stream.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good talking to you, Thomas.
Good talking to you. Great having you here. It was fun. I always love this, and we'll definitely do more.
All right. Have a good one, man. I'll see you around.
See you around, buddy. Cheers.